Hello dear students, welcome to part 2 of the video series on environment and natural resources. So in the uh, last video we discussed about the politics of the environmental debate, uh, how there are different stakeholders in the environmental issue, and like who are the people who are paying the price for the environmental degradation and who are the people who are actually responsible. Are these the same people, or is one group exploiting the environment while the other group is paying for that exploitation? So in today's video we'll try to look at the history, a brief history of the environmental debate, and then we'll also try to understand the responsibilities involved in the environmental issues. So first is looking back. So, you see that from 1972 onwards, we have started focusing on the environmental issue a little bit more. And of course, the last thing that happened, prominent thing that happened in the environmental issue was the uh, Paris Climate Accord. But US moved out of the Paris Climate Accord, and so that is still in the air. Like it's not very clear. Now, so like it says, the awareness of the environmental consequences of economic growth acquired an increasingly political character from the 1960 onwards. So it's not like before 1960 people were not aware that economic growth is leading to environmental consequence, but people thought that that is not an area for the government to look into. Like people will themselves be responsible, but 1960 onwards we realized that the government needs to do something, otherwise the industrialists will wreck the environment for their own private benefits. So various international agencies, they begin holding international conferences and promoting detailed studies to get a more coordinated and effective response to environmental problems. So like we discussed earlier, that environmental issue is not something that one government or one nation can deal at its own level. It's a global issue, and so we need a coordinated effort to deal with it. So on the same lines, we need international agencies, organizations who can hold conferences and discussions at international level, and international national agencies of various governments can cooperate at this level with each other to counter this issue of environmental degradation. So that is how it became a world politics issue. Now, this is the part where we specifically move into the politics of global climate change. So the northern states, like the western countries, like the developed countries of northern part of the world, like Europe and North America, they feel that we need to focus on ozone depletion and global warming. Global warming is now climate change. So these are the issues they want to focus on. But the southern countries, they are a little bit anxious to discuss this relationship between economic development and environmental management. The issue is that because the northern countries are already developed, so they don't need to focus on economic development anymore. They have other things to focus on, like ozone depletion and climate change. While the developing countries are still poor, their population, majority of their population lives in poverty, and so they need this economic development for their people to live a good life. But somehow this economic development will come at a cost of the environment. They need some fossil fuels and all to achieve that economic development, and that's why they are a little anxious now. So that is where the concept of sustainable development comes into being, that we need to combine economic growth with ecological responsibility. So it's not like the developing countries of the world can altogether just give up their economic development and start focusing on environmental issues, because then their people will live a poor life, a very brutish life. So that is why we need to find a middle ground here. Now, Global commons. So global commons are of course I will explain this using the terms involved. So generally commons are those resources which are not owned by anyone but rather shared by a community. So the place where I come from, like North India, we have villages. In villages, we have two things. First is the khet. Khet is the farmlands, and khalihan. Khalihan is mostly like the grasslands. So khet, the farmland is owned by people. Like various people own different pieces of farmland. But the grassland is owned by the village community as all together. There is no one particular owner of it, and all people are free to take their cattle into the grassland, that is the khalihan, and let them graze. So it's a common resource, correct? So what it means is that there is no particular owner, but everybody is responsible for its management. It's not like nobody will take care of it. Somebody has to take care of that common resource, and that is a system that used to work. Of course, that used to come with certain problems of its own, like the upper caste people would stop the lower caste people from accessing that those khalihan. So of course, those issues were already always there, and these issues will crop up whenever we are trying to manage a common or public resource. But like it is part of the process. Now, politics. When we discuss global commons in politics, it means areas or regions of the world which are located outside the sovereign jurisdiction of any one state. So, sovereign jurisdiction simply here means like the ownership in case of an individual. But of course, in case of states and government, it means that no single country can make laws or policies about regarding those areas or regions of the world. So those regions are beyond any single government. Whenever we want to make a policy or a rule or a law about those regions, various countries, ideally it should be all the countries, but in the real world it gets very difficult to bring all the countries together. But at least it should be majority of the countries of that region who decide how to go about with making rules or policies for that particular area or region. So that becomes a global commons. We'll discuss examples also. So protection of global commons. So of course, like I said, in the case of the village grassland, people need to protect and care for that resource also. It's not like you can just abandon it and keep using whenever you feel like. So what are the global commons? So global commons include the Earth's atmosphere, correct? Antarctica, the ocean floor, and outer space. So initially, the technology was not developed enough to, reach these areas and control them. So the Earth's atmosphere is something we all share. It's not like one particular country can claim the atmosphere or any part of it. So that is why when we discuss with issues of global of ozone depletion, then that becomes a part of global commons debate, and all countries need to work together on that. Antarctica again is not owned by anybody. Of course, if you go online and read about it, right now also there are different parts of Antarctica that are claimed by various countries, but those are just claims and there is no real ownership. The issue of the ownership has been debarred for discussion for some time, but of course it will crop up. And once people develop the necessary resources to make Antarctica habitable, then of course the debate will once again crop up. Also, due to climate change, some parts of Antarctica are losing the ice sheets, and there now people can live on it. So again, Antarctica will become a issue of contention in future. The ocean floor itself, so initially we could not survive on the ocean floor because, and still we cannot, without any help we cannot survive on the ocean floor because the pressure is just too much. and there is no light, so it's dark and a very dangerous place. But with advancement in technology, now we can reach the ocean floor and partake in certain kind of activities. So we know that ocean floor is particularly rich in minerals, and at some points you can also places you can also find natural gas and petroleum. So with our ever increasing needs, some countries feel that we need to mine our ocean floors also. But of course, it can and it will result in a huge economic environmental disaster or environmental degradation. So that is why this issue has been debated for now. But of course, with advancement technology and the need for more and more resources, this issue will again come up. Outer space again is not owned by anybody, but we all countries have placed their satellites and satellites in the outer space. And right now, if you look at the picture of outer space, you will see that it is full of debris. So various old and new satellites roam around, and there are different parts of the rocket which are left behind during a takeoff. So it's a very cluttered space. And if you remember, recently, sometime back, India conducted an anti-satellite test where we destroyed one of our own satellites. So that also created very small debris in the atmosphere. So that again is an issue of the outer space, that it is getting cluttered, and now it is becoming dangerous even for the satellites in the area, because they might collide with a small uh, debris and the whole satellite will be destroyed. Now, cooperation over the global commons is not easy, and we know that because we can still see that the global commons are deteriorating and we are not doing much. The best example is outer space. Now, the problem underlying all ecological issues, and here also, is the difficulty of achieving consensus. So, like again, who will take care of it? How much share each country should have in taking care of these global commons is again an issue. Most countries want to achieve maximum profit with minimum of sacrifice of their resources. So again, that is the issue which is coming up here also. So also, why is there a problem with achieving consensus? One of the most prominent reasons is because of vague scientific evidence and time frames. So the science of climate change is not still settled. Like there are still some skeptics who feel that climate change is not what most of the people are describing it. Donald Trump is one of those persons. So like there is this skepticism of climate change. People feel that the climate is too big of a phenomena to actually predict. It's like too complex, and humans do not have the resources right now to predict the climate. And also time frames are also very vague, so we say that by 2010 we'll achieve this or achieve that, but it's not easy for all the countries to achieve because of the differences in our resources and technological capabilities. So a country like USA can say that we will move on to electrical cars, but a country like India, it gets very difficult because we do not have the infrastructure to support electric cars right now, and it will take a lot of resources to build that. But an opportunity came in the form of the ozone hole over Antarctica in the mid 1980s, because this is something that scared everybody, and the leadership also at that point of time was very strong, and so the leaders were able to take this matter seriously, and right now we can see that the ozone layer over Antarctica is healing. So of course there is hope for it. Now, last topic which I'm going to discuss today is whose responsibility is the environment. The developed countries of the North want to discuss the environmental issue as it stands now and want everybody to be equally responsible. So the countries of North, like Northern America and Western Europe, they think that we should discuss the environment as it is now, like with all the pollution and everything in the air. We need to discuss it as it is now, and everybody has to take equal responsibility. It does not depend who has contributed more till now. like everybody should take equal responsibility, but the developing countries of the south feel that much of the ecological degradation in the world is product of industrial development undertaken by the developed countries. So the southern countries like India and China, they feel that most of the environmental degradation till now is product of the economic development of western countries. They were the ones who were setting up industries and factories and polluting all the rivers and oceans and the atmosphere. So till now they have enjoyed the benefits of economic development. So they should be more responsible for fixing the environment, because the developing countries like India and China, we need certain kind of relaxation so we can pursue economic development and help our people get out of poverty. So I'll end the video here. In the next video, we are going to discuss about common but differentiated responsibilities.